Welcome all to the weekly outlook. Boone here from EWPRO. Starting with the DXY, I'm going to start with the monthly because, yeah, you'll see when I get down to the daily. But I'm looking on the monthly. I'm looking at WXY, X2, and then a Z up. Now this is a contracting flat. We sort of have that. We haven't crossed up here yet, but I'm starting to think that this is we're in this Z up because yeah, what's happening on the daily. So I just want to show you that. So we're targeting that 123.6 and the 161.8 as your targets on the monthly. If we go down to the daily, this is why I'm starting to think that we are at the end of wave C on the monthly, on the weekly, and finished X2 on the monthly. So if we have a look here, I was looking at A, B, an A, B, and then a C down in here as a flat, and then we possibly get another one up here and then down here for an A, B, C. Sort of like I've got it drawn here. I left this on here, but now we have to start to look at it. This has gone too far. This wave in here has gone too far. It was very confusing because we had this big correction in here, but then this one here has gone too far. It's gone past the 161.8. So that's why we have to start to look at the monthly, and we can break that top. So if we go down to the H4, we're looking at that like a WXY. Now this may be a flat here. We were looking for that 38.2 fib retracement. Now this may be the flat in here as a running or expanding flat. So we get a WXY, X2, and then we get that Z up. We've just crossed down on the MACD now. This may keep on going and give us bull hidden. Yeah, we're not quite sure, but if you get any bullish setup on this, I'd be looking, you'd have to go down on the M15. But if you got any bullish setup in here, look to buy to go and break that top for the wave Z. So that's how I'm looking at DXY at the moment. AU on the daily, nothing's changed. Nothing's changed on the daily. We're looking at these targets, 123.6 and the 161.8 for the WXY, X2, and Z down. So we haven't quite broken this low here, but it's very close to breaking that low. Will we get bullish divergence? Well, more than likely we will. On the H4, like I've been saying, you know, we got that A, B, C up to the 100 fib, bounced off that 100 fib, and we got just one wave down here. You can only really look for sells, but it's gone too far. You don't want to be in the sell down the bottom. Looking at the H1, you'll know from quite a few weeks back, you know, I got in the sell up here. I'm still in that, and I'm starting to think looking to get out, because on the daily we've just about broken that low. Really, if you're not in the sell already, see, this was your first opportunity, and here was the larger correction here. This was your larger correction. Then you got that WXY. We're starting to get bullish divergence, so very risky to be selling. But if you do get, like, why this trend line here holds, you can still look for sells, but you have to be very careful, and you're more scalping than anything. you're waiting for that end of wave C on the daily, and then you'll be looking for the buy more than anything. So if you're not in the trade, you're pretty much just sitting on the sidelines until the daily's complete. Looking at the EU, this one was a little bit more confusing because on the daily, I was looking for that A, B, C, and then give us that C down. So an A, B, C in here as a running or expanding flat. We never got that move up here. Instead, it's just kept on going. So it's very similar to DXY. So we got a WXY. So we'd be looking for an X2 and then a Z down. On the H4, you can see here, we've got WXY, wait for your X2 and then a Z down. We don't have any bullish divergence. So you really have to wait for the correction. If you get a buy set up, see, on the H1, I'm looking at WXY, and we're looking for that X2. If you go back last week, and I was sort of looking at this as a B wave because of how choppy it was, and now we have bear hidden here. So if you do get a sell set up in here, you can look for that sell for that Z down, and this is a flat in here. So you get that WXY, X2, and then the Z down. You have to wait for the setup to sell it. I mean, if you get a bullish setup here, you could look for the buy as a scalp and just see if it breaks that top. And then it still can be an expanding flat for more downside. So if you take the buy, it is a little bit risky still, but yeah, you can look for it. Looking at GU on the daily, now this one's playing out as expected. We got the C up on this one on the daily. So looking at A, B, C, it's nearly down to the 100 fib, the first target, well, our target. And yeah, I'm not sure if there's any divergence there. We have lost the divergence. So this may go even further. If you go back, when we're at the top, I was looking for that 50 fib retrace. So maybe this is a WXY, X2, and then a Z. And this one can actually break that low if you've been following me for a while. You'll know that we got this triangle in here for an A, B, C in the B wave, and then a C up. It's bounced off that weekly 100 fib. So this can really fall over and even break that low. So yeah. On the H4, we're starting to get bullish divergence now. So it's starting to get very risky. So if you get a buy set up, instead of buying EU, I'd be buying this one, because EU, we don't have any bullish divergence, whereas EU, we do have bullish divergence. So we may get like a correction back up to the 50 fib before we get more downside. We may get a larger correction in here. We do have that bullish divergence. H1, we have the bullish divergence still too. So if you do get any bullish setup, you can look for that, bullish setup, and look for that 50 fib retrace as your target. If you're looking for the sells, it's starting to get very risky, because we've already, the daily structure has complete, because we've broken both the lows. We've broken below wave A, and even the internal B wave, we've broken below that as well. We don't have bullish divergence on the daily, but Yeah, so I'd be more inclined to buy GU than EU, and you'd be just targeting that 50 fib of this move here. So around here somewhere, you'd be looking to take your profit if you're looking for that buy as a larger correction. It's not giving you a buy setup at this stage, but if you do get, looks like you've got an M15 buy setup in here. But yeah, you have to look on the lower time frames for your setup and target the buys. NU is quite difficult because this is we sort of got 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 up in here, and then we got, you know, a 1, 2, 3 in here. It's not complete. We sort of need another one up here to complete this structure in here before we get that one down. On the daily, it's unclear, the structure. On the H4, we got that, looking at that A, B, C, and it bounced off that 100 fib. So we're looking for the sell. We've got a W, X, Y in here. So if you get an X2, then you could look for that sell. But I'd be waiting for the X2 first before you even look to sell this. And you really need a setup to sell it as well on the H4 for that Z down. H1, we're getting bullish divergence, but we had a big flat in here. I have that flat in here. If you get a bullish setup, you could probably scalp the buys, because we do have bullish divergence on the daily, but more than likely it'd just be a correction. It'd just be a correction up to the 50 fib, like an A, B, C, larger correction before you get like a larger A, B, C down here. UY on the daily. So UY, we're looking for this. We're looking for this A, B, C up to that 100 fib. It looks like it's still, we haven't crossed down, so, and we're still within this trend line here. Still within this trend line. I think we do have bearish divergence. We may have lost the bearish divergence, or it's very close. But why this trend line here holds, we're still in that structure. So there is still possible more upside, but it's getting limited. We're getting to the end of the move. On the H4, we got that W, X, Y, X2, and then we got the Z up. We got all the bearish divergence. We got a lower low here. So you can really only sell now. You can only really look for the sells. We were looking for a bit larger correction here. I was looking for a correction this size. This was a reasonably large correction. It nearly comes down to our 38.2 where we wanted it to go, and then it took off and we got that bearish divergence. So really you can only look for sells. So if you get a correction in here on the H1, probably take a week or so before you get the correction, and this wave here may not be over yet. You know, wherever you get this correction, you'll have to wait for the correction, H1 correction, and then look for the sell. The Swissy on the daily, so this one completed its structure as well this week. We broke above this high here, and it completed it like I said last week. All it had to do was break above this A wave here. Like we got an A, B, C, then you get that A, B, C. It didn't get up to the 100 fib, but it completed its structure. So this may be over. We haven't got the cross down on the MACD, but it may be over. H4, there is still possible one up. We have the possible bull hidden here, and this may be the flat in here as an expanding flat for a WX, Y, X2, and then the Z up. So we can't rule out that Z up yet. We do have that possible bull hidden. On the H1, we were looking for the sell last week because we had that bearish divergence, and we were looking for that possible flat as a running or expanding flat. Well, it's turned into an expanding flat on the H4. H1, there really isn't nothing that you need a buy setup. Like if it gives you a buy setup in here, well, then you can look for that buy to trade that H4 bull hidden for that Z up. Until you get a setup on it, you can't really trade it. If you get a bearish setup, you know, you could look for the sell as well. Just keep tight stops if you're looking for the sell. Because if I just go back, because on the daily, you got to remember, on the daily, we are looking for this C down. So if you get a sell set up, you can look for that sell, and we may not get that H4 Z up. So, you know, if you do get a sell, you can look for that sell. Looking at CAD, UCAD, we've got this like A, and like I've been saying, whatever's happening in here, it's correcting. So we're looking for that C up. A couple of weeks ago, we did have that cross up on the daily. So we're looking for that 100 fib, at least that 100 fib, A, B, C. On the H4, like I've been saying, if you've been following me, we got that 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and then I was looking for that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but this one didn't break that low. So when that didn't break that low, we were looking at it just as a 333 structure. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. As a complete structure there. We got this large correction here. And if you look back through my outlooks, we had that bull hidden here without divergence. So we're looking for that buy there. You would have got another opportunity to buy here. You had bearish divergence, so it gets risky, but you did have a bull hidden here. So, you know, you could have risked it. And now we've lost the bearish divergence between these two tops. So if you get another correction in here, you can look for the buy. And you'll be targeting that daily 100 fib. Why that trend line here holds. Why this trend line here holds, you can look for your buys. Keep on looking for your buys, and it's more scalping now, you know. But yeah. GU on the daily. GY, sorry. Not GU. So we're looking at WXY, X2, Z up. We got up to that 123.6, the first target, and now we're breaking this trend line. And we've crossed down. So we're looking for a 50 fib retrace, at least a 50 fib retrace, you know. On the H4, really we've got starting to get bullish divergence on here, but we've broken that daily trend line. So wherever this wave here ends, it may not be over, and we may even lose that bullish divergence yet if this keeps on going, you know. But wherever we get this correction, usually when we break a trend line, you know, we'll get a correction. So if we get a correction in here, look for the sell. EG on the daily. So we're looking at that WXY, X2, Z down. We got it down to that 123, the first target. It never got to the second target. We got a lot of bullish divergence. So like I've been saying for a long time, we're only looking for buys. This was a bit tricky because we had that move down here and then we had that bear hidden and it went and broke the low. Now it's even more trickier because we don't have that bullish divergence now either. So, you know, maybe we get another bear hidden here, in here. But again, I'm only looking for buys. We got all that divergence on the daily. It's only a matter of time before this takes off. On the H1, we don't have any bearish divergence. So any flags you get, I'll be more inclined to look for bullish setups and just buy. You know, if you get something like this, you know, here as a bullish setup, this is your bearish setup. But if you get a bullish one around here, similar looking to this, you know, look for that buy. You know, gold on the daily. So this has become quite tricky as well. It's not playing nicely. We've got that WXY. We had that bear hidden. It never broke the low. So we got 1, 2, 3 in here, and then we got 1, 2, 3 up. Never got to the 100 fib in the C wave. We're looking at A, B, C. Instead, we got that deep correction in here. So it's been very difficult to trade. And like I've been saying for a long time, on the weekly, we're looking for this time factor. So like I said, it can become very difficult to trade. And that's pretty much what's happening. It's becoming difficult. In here, we don't have any bearish divergence. So this may be an A, B, sorry. This may be an A, B, C in here, and we get another one up in here for a flat before we get one down, you know, for an A, B, C. So, you know, this can turn really complex. Looking at the H4, we got that first move. We got the A, B, C up to the 100 fib. Now it's fallen over. We have possible bull hidden here. So, like I said last week, if we get bull hidden, you know, it may go and break the top. We haven't invalidated that bull hidden. So there is still a chance that this does give another one up. It's not giving a bullish setup though at the moment. There is no setup on it. There is no real buy or sell on it at the moment. So if it does, you know, doesn't break that, if it breaks that low, well, then you can look for sell setups. If you get a sell setup, look for the sell. But if this low here doesn't get broken, it just comes down here, then gives you a bullish setup, I'd be looking for the buy to go and break that top, and then you'd be looking for the sell. But at this stage, there is really no bullish or, I mean, if it gives you a little sell setup in here, little bearish setup in here, well, you could look for the sell, but keep very tight stops because it may not break that low and then just shoot up on you. Looking at WTI on the daily. So we've completed structures here. We've got the cross down and we've broken this trend line. We got that WXY, X2, and then the Z up to the 161.8. On the H4, like I said last week, we're looking at that WXY, X2, and a Z, but the wave Z never broke that top. So yeah, we're looking for sells because that one never broke that top. So we're just looking for sells, and it did fall over on us, but it was very difficult to get the sell on it. I was actually looking for the sell. I was looking at A, B, C, like I showed last week, and then a sell setup, but it didn't really give a sell setup. This was looking more like a buy setup, and I was sort of waiting for an A, B, C in here, and then look for the sell, but it just fell over on me. I missed the trade. But if you get any sell setups, we've broken the daily trend line. Look for your sells, and you'll be targeting that. Have I got it on there? Yeah. So we're targeting that 50 fib. You know, that's where we'll be looking to target. Bitcoin on the daily. So we've broken that top, like I've been saying. There still is a chance that, if I just zoom out a bit, zoom in a bit, sorry. Like I said last week, we're looking at a W, X, Y, X2, and we may get a Z up in here as a running or expanding flat. Well, it's turned into an expanding flat. We still may get bullish hidden here and then get another one up, breaking that top. So we've got to look down. Well, while this trend line here holds, we can still look for buys, because like I said, this can be, we got the, if I just zoom out on the H4, we've got that W, X, Y, X2, and then the Z up, and we're looking at this as an A, B, C for possibly more upside, because this one here broke the top. So this is a possible flat here. We are starting to get bullish divergence on the H4. So if you get a buy set up, you can look for that buy. Last week we were looking for the sell. We're looking for that W, X, Y, X2, and then the Z down. We got the Z down. Do we have bullish divergence here? We do have bullish divergence between wave Y and wave Z. This one was a little bit bigger correction. Last week I was just looking for like move up here for an A, B, C in here. It is a little bit larger than this correction here, but not by much. So I'll still look at that as the Z down, and we do have bullish divergence. So we'll either get like an A, B, C up to the 50 fib retracement of this move, and then more downside, or it takes off from here and we get that Z up like I showed on the daily. So if you get a buy set up, you can look for the buy. We do have that bullish divergence on the H4 and the H1. So you'd have to go down on the lower time frames. I'll just quickly go down on the M15. Yeah. So you're getting a bullish setup here. It's very risky. Like, you know, you're catching a falling knife at the moment, but we are getting a bullish sort of a setup here, a bullish flag here. So if you get a break, little flag in here, well, then you can look for the buy. It may just turn out to be like an A, B, C. So, and then give you more downside. So you will have to keep very tight stops. So if it just gives you a C up, comes back, takes you out of break even, well then if you get a trend line break and a sell set up, well then you can look for the sell for a little bit more downside. You'll be only scalping, you know, yeah. So I'd be more interested in the buy because we still have that possible flat here, that larger flat. So yeah, I'd be more interested in the buy, and And even if it's just an A, B, C up to the 50 fib of this move of this, yeah, I'd be more interested in the buy. We have that bullish divergence, so, and it'll only be scalping, right? But yeah. S&P. So we breached that 100 fib. There's not much on. Eventually, we're looking for that 50 fib retrace, like an A, B, C. You know, it's only a matter of time before this falls over, like I've been saying. Now, this one here, we got a WXY. We're sort of looking for an X2 and then a Z up. Instead, it's fallen over here. So, and there's no bullish divergence. So I'm not sort of looking for the Z up anymore. I think that's the end of the move. I did put a trade idea out on this on TradingView, and the first target and the second target is hit. So I'll remove all this because that's all over. I'll remove that because we're not going to get that Z up. So we're looking at WXY, X2 and Z down. You really need to wait for your X2 on the H1 now to sell. You can only sell this. On the H1, you can only sell this. We don't have any bullish divergence. So wherever this wave ends, look for the X2. More than likely, we'll get a bear hidden. And then look for that Z down. I'd be waiting for the correction to sell. You can, if you get flags, you can sell them, but you know, just be a bit careful. The safest way is to wait for the correction and then sell. AU 200 on the daily. So this one we had all that bearish divergence as well. Since I started doing this one, you know, I've just been waiting for the sell on the daily, you know, because we had all that bearish divergence. Finally, we got that trend line broke, and we're getting correction here. This was possible that it did go and break the top, like I've been saying, with the bull hidden, but it's looking very bearish at the moment with that big move down on Friday. Looking at the H4, we're looking at this like A, B, C in here for a flat, and then we got that A, B, C. It was difficult last week because we had that deep correction here, and we were in no man's land. It did give a sell setup here, very difficult because we had the bearish divergence here. So we were looking for sells, but it gave us a very deep pullback. And then this was very deep as well. But yeah, if you put a sell stop under this, you'd be at break even. Yeah. Looking at the DAX. On the daily, WXY, X2, Z up to that first target, that 123.6, and we're breaking this trend line here now. So only looking for the sells, like I said last week. Last week there was possible bull hidden, but it's gone way too far. There is still the possible bull hidden here. You know, but yeah, it's unlikely to go. More than likely it'll break that, taking out that bull hidden, and this is way too large a correction for the Z up. So you're only really looking for sells. I can take that off. On the H1, we've got no bearish bullish divergence, so any sell setup you get, pretty much the same. Yeah, we've broken that trend line. We've broken that daily trend line. So if you get a larger correction, any correction you get, look for the sell. The FTSE, this is the one I'm in. So we got that like W, X, Y, X2, Z up to the 161.8. This was the first target, second target, and third target. We can break that low, like I showed last week. And you will see my trading view idea if you go onto trading view, this idea on the daily. So the H4, we're looking at this, we've got a WXY. We're nearly down to that 161.8. So really, you wait for your X2, draw your trend line, and look for that Z down now. It's safer to wait because we don't know how far this is going to go. But wherever you get that correction, look for that Z down on the H4. On the H1, if you look at my trading view idea, you'll see that I got in, like I showed last week, yeah, got in just under this 100 fib here. So we're looking at that W, X, Y, X2, and then a Z down. Like I said last week, we didn't have bullish divergence, so I was holding it, and we're looking for that larger correction. We got that larger correction. We got the X2 on the H4, and then it fell over. So I hope some of you has got in this one, and yeah, hold it, because you know this is your first target, and like I said, we can go and break that low. We can go and break that low for the third target. So this is something that you don't want to miss. You know, we've been waiting for this for a long time. So I hope you enjoyed the weekly outlook. Enjoy your weekend, and I'll see you out there next week.